These guys are ridiculous. These guys are ridiculous.
Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another episode of How About Them Celtics. Sam and I are here recording on Sunday, May 7th, a few hours after the end of Celtics-Sixers Game 4. It's an afternoon game. Sam and I went to play basketball afterwards. We came back. We're recording. Unfortunate result. I mean, the Sixers tied the series at 2 apiece. Sam and I have obviously talked since then because we were at basketball and stuff. And I think the general consensus, obviously the Celtics had the chance to win the game. So when they have the chance, you want them to win the game. This is probably, at least for me personally, the least upset after a loss I've been in the playoffs. Like, the way I phrased it to Sam off camera was like, it feels like in the other 3 games, the Celtics almost beat themselves. And while there were moments where they beat themselves in game 4, this felt the most like the other team was just better. And like I said, like, you get down to the final minutes, you're up 5 with X amount of minutes left. Like, you got to capitalize on that overtime, right? You shouldn't, we'll get into all the ticky-tack stuff and the stuff and everything like that. But like, out of all the losses, this one felt the most like, okay, the Sixers played really good. You move on and we'll get into the rest of it. But I'm not as upset as I am after game 1 or either of the Hawks losses.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that they didn't beat themselves in this game because I think they did. But they really didn't have any business. Like, had they won this game, it would have felt like they stole it.
Yeah,
and I feel like that's what you're saying. It didn't feel like a game where the Celtics were beating them up, and then
they didn't feel like the better team for like 70 to 80% of the game.
Yeah, and I think that's why it doesn't feel as frustrating, but I'm still pretty annoyed. I tweeted this earlier today. The Celtics are 2 possessions away from sweeping, whatever. They should have swept them. If they just don't melt during down the stretch, this could have been a sweep. And it's that simple. Now, obviously, coulda, woulda, shoulda is kind of useless to sit here and ramble about. But, I mean, if you don't melt in game 1, and if you – my pinning the blame today is going to be on the leaving Harden open for 3. I still can't believe that when he has 39 points at the time. You're like, yeah, okay, we're up 2. We'll give him a free 3. Okay, fine. But if you don't do those 2 things – what?
I was going to say, I think you were about to say it to me when we were at basketball. You're like, you've been stressing math all year, and then that's the math you go with on that final defensive position.
But yeah, you're stressing math all year. Here's a free 3. Yep, you lose. I'm not mad about the final possession. It could have been better, of course. You want to get a shot off, but my real gripe is on the defensive end because if you get a stop there, which they were unable to do repeatedly, once they went up 5, they all of a sudden didn't want to get stops anymore. It's frustrating. I hate watching this team not be able to get stops. I, as a fan, should be able to believe in the team when it comes to that, and I can't. Mm-hmm. And I'm not. It's not because I'm just like a nervous fan. It's because there's evidence that they cannot get stops right now down the stretch. They didn't do it against Atlanta in Game 5. They didn't do it in Game 1 against Philly. They didn't do it today. In fairness to the Celtics, did not get to watch Game 3, but from everything I understand, Game 3, they did a good job of keeping things in order and not melting. They had potential to melt. They did not. So good on them for that. But here we are. Game 4 is over. You've lost Game 4 by 1 point. And now it's 2-2. And you have to win 2 of the next 3. So now we all get to sit here. Hopefully you just win the next 2 because we're really going to have to sit here because Game 7, there's like 3 days between 6 and 7 if it happens.
Yeah.
So I don't know why the NBA decided they want to do that kind of asshole move by Adam Silver. But win the next 2. You should have already swept this team, man. Grandy tweeted it out. It was like Celtics when they swept Brooklyn plus 20, when they swept Indiana in 2019 plus 30 for the series. And then last time they swept Philly plus 40 for the series. They are plus 41 through 4 games, and they are tied.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think the defense was the main problem here. Like you said, down the stretch, like the biggest story of the game is going to be the defense because on the biggest possession of the game, you had a lot of idiots breakdown.
Don't think so, but continue.
Yeah, I mean, like, what do you mean? Wait, are you saying like people don't care enough about the Jalen thing?
No, like the idiots on Twitter, the main takeaway is Joe needs to call timeout. Which
I do think that was
Joe doesn't need to call timeout if they're not like, here's a free 3.
I do think that's a problem too, right? And
We
I'm
can
not
discuss
saying
it.
like, I'm not saying like the Harden thing isn't a problem because I think that was a bigger issue than the timeout. And I mean, to be honest, you could sit here and pick through a ton of minute things that the Celtics did wrong. Like you can even look at like, oh, if that Al Horford 3 didn't rim out, the Celtics would win. You could say, if Jaylen Brown didn't leave James Harden in the corner, if Jason Tatum went earlier on the final possession instead of waiting for 5 seconds, if Joe Mazzulla called a timeout with 10 seconds to organize the team, right? There's a million different things that could have happened. But I think what's going to end up being lost in all of it is that they just didn't play offense in the first half of the game. They just decided we're not going to do anything. If Jaylen Brown's not the one scoring, we're going to rely on heave threes from Derek White at the end of the shot clock or Marcus Smart being good. And people who are going to say that, because there's going to be people who go out there and crap on Marcus Smart. Why is he getting the shot at the end of overtime? And
that was a good shot.
Marcus
Both
Smart
shots were good shots.
Marcus Smart was awesome in this game. So that's just not relevant. He drew a huge charge on Embiid in the last few moments. He did a pretty good job guarding him for the majority of the game, right? Like you can pick on the Celtics for not guarding James Harden well enough because I think you saw some similarities from game 1 into this game. And half of that is credit James Harden for making those adjustments. And half of that is the Celtics just not being able to put the same pressure on him. And I saw somebody on Twitter too say like Jaylen Brown picking up 2 early fouls probably also had something to do with that because he couldn't be as aggressive. Again, there's a million different things you can talk about, but they just didn't have an offense in the first half of the game. And as much as I'm just talking, as much as you want to say like, good for them, they made a huge run in the fourth quarter. Great. Awesome. It was cool to see them pick it up. Why didn't they do that for the first, 3 quarters of the game, right? You wouldn't have been in that position where Jaylen Brown would have had to make the decision to double Harden double Embiid, or you wouldn't have, Joe Mazzulla had to call a timeout, or Tatum would have had to take, or Smart would have had to, you know what I'm saying? If you just played offense in the first half. Because the fact that the Celtics were down 9 at halftime was a miracle. They should have been down by 20. The Sixers were by far the better team in the first half, not even close. And the Celtics were down by 9 points. And then they brought it back eventually, and they were up by 5, I think, with like 2 minutes left, and blah, blah, blah. And Jason Tatum was absolutely horrendous in the first half. And I'll sit here and give him all the credit in the world for a second half. He was awesome on the boards, 18 rebounds. He was awesome on defense in the fourth quarter. He had 4 blocks in the game. He was aggressive. He didn't shoot well from 3, but he shot 9 of 20 overall, which really isn't all that terrible. 4 blocks, a steal, 6 assists. He was running the offense at the end of the game there. He obviously made both those passes to Marcus Smart, but he didn't make a shot in the first half. You can't have halves missing from your star player. And again, credit for bringing it back in the second half. That can't happen. That just can't happen.
Yeah, I texted Jack today at 4:42, and I said, it's going to be fire when they drop this one, but it's close. This is probably a halftime. So we can point to them not trying and playing like they all got their head stepped on by Embiid last game instead of just Grant Williams. And that's exactly what we're doing right now. Because the Celtics played one half of basketball, and they lost by 1 point after running around like a bunch of morons for 2 quarters to start the game. This is frustrating stuff. When you look at this game as a whole, it's annoying. It's great that they came back. Their comeback ruled, and there's a lot of great things that came out of the comeback. You saw Al Horford play some great defense. You saw them find a solution to defending Embiid when that guy was unconscious in the middle quarters.
They even broke the zone for a play. That was fun, right?
They had a nice high-low action in the zone. Can't believe it. And then you go up 5, 2 minutes to play, then you can't get stops. You give a bunch of offensive rebounds up. PJ Tucker gets a super cool and 1, and you let the game go to overtime because you can't stop Harden because you keep just giving up switches. And then in overtime, you go up 3, and same story. You can't get stops. You get 1 stop. It's Embiid running over Smart, and that was almost not a stop. Some people thought it was a block. Some thought it was a charge. Refs thought it was a charge. So the Celtics got lucky there. I don't know. The execution down the stretch still isn't good. And that's my big takeaway. The biggest pinpoint for the blame, again, is the Jaylen lapse on defense. But, like, in the playoffs, especially in this series, he's been pretty good defensively. Like, what are you going to do? He's not constantly screwing around like he was in the season when you wrote
The
the hit
math
piece on
just
him.
kills me. This is the hit piece. The math just kills me though. Like, how do you not have the situational awareness
It's true.
to like you're down by 2,
Embiid
just give up the
scores there
2.
and gets a free 2. Also, what the hell were the matchups on that play? Nobody was talking about this. They come out of the timeout and
listen.
Tatum's covering Embiid. Why?
Maybe they assumed. I watched from the car, so I
Yeah, you
not
weren't.
fully
You
aware.
yeah, you had
Or
to
listen from the car.
Yeah.
Maybe
It
they
was
thought
weird.
like
They come out. Tatum guards Embiid. Jaylen
where was
Brown is still
Horford?
on Harden, so they're
Who
not
was
like
Horford on?
he was on the corner man. He was the help guy.
Yeah, that makes no sense. In that situation, like Al Horford has been dominant on
If
Joel
it ain't
Embiid all
broke,
night.
don't fix it. What are you doing?
Just put him on Embiid and live with the one-on-one and just trust Al not to foul. And even if he does foul, hope Embiid. You know what I'm saying? Like, just you can't give up an open 3 to James Harden on that play. It's just unacceptable. Like you can't mess that up. He was 5 of 8 from 3 at that point. Finished 6 of 9. Like you said, had 39 points. Joel Embiid was 11 for 26 on the game. Not only are you missing the math of, okay, if he gets a 2, worst case, we go to double overtime. You're missing the math of you doubled the wrong person. Like one of them was having a great game and one of them was having not a good game. And then it just makes absolutely no sense. Jaylen Brown's decision. Al Horford after the game talked about how it was a defensive lapse. Marcus Smart said you live with that, live time decision by Jaylen Brown.
I mean, I think it's just a mistake. Like
It's just
again, it's not a recurring thing. If you want to be uber concerned about something, that's not it. If you want to be annoyed about something, to me, that's it. Because it was such a simple thing. We just talked about it. But going back to Brogdon makes a 26 3-point, whatever. He makes a 3-pointer.
Yeah.
2 minutes, 4 seconds. Philly comes down, Harden scores. Then the Celtics screw around for a possession and Smart has to take a tough 3 and he doesn't make it.
Mm-hmm.
Then Tobias Harris misses a jumper. PJ Tucker gets the rebound and 1. Okay. The Celtics make free throws. Horford gets a block and Embiid. They get a rebound off that. Harden makes the floater. Then it goes to overtime. So we'll swing over to overtime once I can finally scroll up. My goodness.
Yep.
Marcus Smart and 112, 109. Embiid misses a step back. Harris gets a rebound. Harden misses a step back. Sixers get the rebound out of bounds because Tatum and Rob cannot communicate. And then Embiid makes a 2-pointer to cut it to 1. Those are 2 stops you could have had and got another score and just ended the game.
Not to mention the Al Horford 3 that just completely rimmed out. And that's that's a bad shot, but
seriously, these guys just cannot finish out defensive possessions down the stretch.
They can't rebound. What happens is they all just stand around and look at the ball, right? Like credit Tatum for having 14 defensive rebounds. Nobody else on the team had more than 5. You want to know who the 5 was? Al Horford and Malcolm Brogdon. Like show a little effort. Go for the ball. Die for the ball. Like it doesn't make any sense. Robert Williams only had 2 rebounds on the night. Granted, he played 14 minutes, but
they can't play Rob that many minutes. In this situation, they can't.
No. This is not Rob's series. This is a Grant series. You can't afford to be hesitant on the defensive glass in this series. Or last series, but they were too. So not a new thing.
I'm sick of seeing these guys let games slip. I thought the comeback was great. Again, a lot of great things from that. A lot of great things from Tatum today. I was going to crap on him, obviously. 0 of 8 to start the game. Third quarter, excellent. He continued to be really a force in the second half. Continued to make the right play. Really great half from Tatum.
Good on defense, too. Really good on
defense. He was involved. He did the things that he could do to impact the game without scoring, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
He only shot 6 threes. Thumbs up. 1 of 6 isn't great, but it's better than 1 of 11.
1 of 10, 1 of 11, yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather have that. Don't like that they miss free throws in the fourth quarter. That'll make you pull your hair out. It's just you really believed in Tatum in that half, and it was a strange way to end the game. That he didn't even really get any looks besides that push-off 3 that Doc Rivers had a fit about.
I wanted to ask you about this. I heard the 3. I didn't get to see it, but as far as the end of game things, are you? I'll say this and explain. Are you pro LeBron strategy or pro Kobe strategy? As in, are you pro get Kobe, get your star player look no matter what, or you LeBron make the right play and just get the best look possible? Do you
I
know what I'm
was
saying?
fine
Like
with the
those
shot they
markers.
got regulation.
In general, though, like, do you like at the overtime? Would you have rather Tatum put
For
something
me,
up at
it's
the
make the
rim?
right play.
Okay, I agree with you. I agree with that.
I don't really care who takes it, especially on this team. I really don't care. It's different when if it's
Yeah.
like you and the boys, but
Yeah,
everybody that was on the floor for the Celtics in those situations is able to score the ball.
yeah, I agree.
I was frustrated because I don't know why Tatum didn't shoot the ball on the final possession. Like
Instead of passing it
I
to
don't know if
Smart.
you watched the play. Like he kind of
I
had
can't see.
a semi-open look at the rim. If
We
you
try to
look it
find
up,
it.
I'm sure it'll be there. Goes late. I mean, he still made like a good pass to Smart. Smart made the shot. It was just after the buzzer. It's too late. These guys are just not reliable down the stretch, and I hate it. I was so impressed with Tatum's game today in the second half.
He played really good.
Had they won this game, this would have been a game for Tatum that people talked about for years.
Yeah,
He led
It was
these
a good one.
guys. He fueled the spark. He got them to get their head out of their ass. The Celtics came out of the half up on guys, defending hard. You didn't see that in the first half. That's what makes this even more annoying. We already talked about, yeah, sure, the offense looks stagnant, but they weren't really locked in defensively either. They weren't
Mhm.
glaringly bad. It wasn't game one where it felt like everything was super easy. But it didn't feel like Philly had to work for a whole lot. It didn't feel like the Celtics were making it hard for them. As soon as they came out of the half, Derek White's up on guys at half court. They're picking up guys as they bring up the ball. Harden's having things be more difficult for him. I like that. And I again, impressed with Tatum. He took it upon himself. He hit the glass. He got a couple offensive rebounds. He was going to the cup in the third quarter. He was, 5 of 5, 6 of 6? It was awesome. I don't know why they don't do that all the time. These guys are so petrified of Embiid. They do not want to shoot on him in the paint.
Sorry, I was just watching the final possession. Tatum absolutely should have tried to dunk that. Just go up with the ball. I like that they made the right play. There wasn't enough time to make that pass. There just wasn't. Like
I get
seeing it
Embiid.
back.
Well, it's not like Embiid's there. They're afraid of him.
But Tatum jumped before Embiid even left the ground. Like, and I know what you're saying, and I agree with you. Like that they're afraid to go at Embiid. But like I said, like I haven't gotten the chance to watch the play and seeing it. Like Tatum just got to take that. Yeah, he should have gone up with that. But again,
if you want to get mad at the coach there because he didn't see things develop,
let's
and
talk
didn't call
about
a
that too.
timeout,
Let's talk about that too.
Fine.
Like Joe Mazzulla should have called a timeout, especially like again, like my first time seeing the play. They were just standing there like unsure of who should be setting the screen with like 8 seconds on the clock, right? Like you should already be getting into your action like that. Like once he saw like Derek White, like no, you do this like the scramble, like you should call a timeout there. And I do think that overall, I don't really have a problem with Joe Mazzulla's timeout strategy, but like there comes a point where you've got to take control of it. You've got to be like, okay, these guys are scrambling a little bit. Like it just feels like he sometimes doesn't have a feel for like the I don't even know how to say it. Like he doesn't have a feel for when his guys are lost or scrambling or not like they've lost the play. Right? Like on there, you see clearly that like some miscommunication happened. As soon as that miscommunication happens, I don't care if it's off the ball, on the ball, tiny, huge, like just call a timeout. Like what's the worst that happens? Right? Like, I mean, obviously the worst happens, you get a 5-second call on the inbound or something, blah, 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 and you have trouble inbounding the ball. But like realistically, just call a timeout. Like just get reset, drop a play. I don't know. Again, I'm not going to sit here and blame Joe Mazzulla for the whole game, but I think he should. I think he needs to be more aggressive with his timeouts. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned with the timeouts. I get the make the read that things aren't developing and call the timeout to get your guys organized. That's fine. I had no problem with what happened at the end of regulation. I typically am pro letting them just
Regulation was fine.
attack the defense as they try and set up instead of trying to run a set play against a defense that is set. Because I
Yeah.
saw some tweets today and people are like, Joe needs to learn how to call timeout. And that was the main thing. Like if you go on Twitter and you look at the Celtics final score post, that's all people care about. Joe doesn't call timeout. Well,
Yep.
well, it is true. And there is argument, hey, he should have realized things weren't going well and just put an end to it.
Mm-hmm.
Even then, if Tatum makes the right decision, if you want to say it that way, it doesn't matter. It doesn't.
I think Tatum
if
was
he,
also
if he just took a
little
look
too
at the
slow.
rim,
Yeah.
then
Or even just passed it sooner. Even if he just got the pass off quicker. Like he was just too indecisive for too long. It's similar to what
got a good. I don't want to say motion, like a good option there, and they took it.
Yeah.
Like I don't think Joe really had anything else to do other than see that they might be panicking, but I don't think they were panicking. I just don't think they got into it soon enough.
It was similar in my it's obviously not exactly the same thing, but it's kind of like what happened in game 1 when Marcus Smart drove and he just waited like a split second too long to pass Tatum the ball or shoot the ball. Like there was just like the slightest indecisiveness that kind of made everything crumble. Like Tatum should have either shot the ball quicker or passed the ball quicker, or there was just like a split second too much hesitation. And the fact that they didn't even technically get a shot up at the end of the game, like that just can't happen. Like, again, like you want to say, blame it on Tatum for not going quick enough. You want to blame it on Joe for not calling a timeout. Like you can't not get a shot up at the end of a game like that. It's just like, it goes back to the, like, they can't, like they just crumble in the clutch. And I was feeling good.
That's the main thing.
I was feeling good about their performance in the clutch in the fourth quarter. Obviously, they got a couple buckets the Sixers got a couple buckets on the stretch that you wish the Celtics got to stop. But overall, like Horford looked good on defense. Tatum looked good on defense. Celtics were getting good shots. Even the last shot of the game was a fine shot. But like overtime comes around, they look okay. And then those last two possessions really just like nail in the coffin. And I mean, again, credit Harden. Like he played well. Like he had a good game. But the Celtics if the playoffs sometimes come down to two plays and the Celtics melted on those two plays, and you can't have that at this point if you want to win a championship. And again, I'm not sitting here saying like the series is over, but you had a real chance to like,
yeah, you had a chance to bury these guys.
If the Celtics won this game, Harden would have been booking his flight to Cancun. Let's be real.
It's true. If they close this out today, they make a monumental comeback. It was still an excellent effort, excellent push to a Philly team that was comfortable up at home. And then you beat them on their home floor. You take both their home games. That's it. They're cooked. Now they've got a little bit of life. I don't feel like it's as dangerous as Atlanta.
Which is funny.
Well, it's a different kind of thing. The Celtics have literally dominated the series.
Yeah.
I said it earlier with like the plus minus. They're plus 41 in this series through 4 games, and they've won half.
Mm-hmm.
It's 2 plays away from being a sweep. The Celtics should have no problem getting 2 more wins. They've essentially already beaten Philly 4 times. The problem is they don't beat teams unless they beat teams. If it's close, they're not giving themselves the benefit of the doubt. They're letting these games slip away.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't want to acknowledge like it really matters if they win the series, that's extra games these guys have to play. You could point to last year's finals collapse and be like, Tatum was tired.
He was.
Why was Tatum tired? I don't know. He only played, let's see, they could have beat Milwaukee in 5. They let the Heat go to 7. That could have been 5 if they just executed. Like, it's that simple. They played 4 extra games if you want to make that point. You're seeing it again this year. Played an extra game against Atlanta. Really, you could say 2, because game 3 felt like a game they could have won too, even though Atlanta shot the lights out that day, and it was one of those 3 hands up, what are you going to do games? But now you've got this series. Game 1, Harden has the game of his life. You lose by essentially 2 points, 4 after the free throw.
No answers on defense. 0.
You had no answers, no adjustments on defense. You come out the next 2 games and really have impressive showings. Game 3, give them a little bit of credit. They did weather the storm again.
Good win. Real good win.
It felt like Philly was going to come back as I checked the score. And they were fighting, but the Celtics had an answer every single time they got close. So that is a positive.
Yep.
That's good. That's progress. Today,
Step
Celtics
back.
out of it. Terrible first half. Battle back. Impressive. Good. Again, saw a lot of great things. Again, we'll circle back. Horford defense.
Awesome.
Shot selection felt good.
Tatum
Even when they were
defense.
making that comeback, though, Jack, we were texting, and I was like, these dudes really don't want to make this comeback.
Yeah.
Because even when it was happening and Philly was really stalling out, it took a while for the Celtics to start taking advantage of
Oh
it.
my God. What pisses me off, Malcolm Brogdon had a solid game when you look at the stat sheet. But
He did.
every mistake Brogdon makes is at the worst possible time for a mistake. He only had 2 turnovers in this game, and they were like 2 of the worst turnovers in the game. He only has 4 turnovers in the series. One of them lost them game 1.
Yeah.
One of them in this one, I forget what they are, but I just remember being pissed at it.
He was dribbling up on a somewhat fast break.
Yeah.
It was a transition, and he just dribbled into a couple guys and lost the ball after Philly had just missed. And then he gave them a free chance.
They had momentum. They had a chance.
Could have cut it to 4, and then it goes back to 8.
They had a chance to get some huge momentum. The other one was in the second quarter. He's dribbling in the lane, and he just passes it to Tobias Harris.
Yeah, that
Tatum
was a
is
bad
extending
one,
out.
too.
Another terrible one. And then on top of that, something I've talked about all season: 5 of 8 from 3, awesome. 1 of 5 from 2. He just misses layups. Brogdon can't make layups.
He missed a layup in the
can't.
4th, and Tatum missed a layup in the 4th. That was another part of they really don't want to make this comeback because those almost came on back-to-back possessions, and it felt killer at the time. They ended up making the comeback, like forcing overtime, taking a 5-point lead, and then, of course, melting. But at the time, it felt backbreaking. I was like, man, I thought his layup went in, and Tatum's was such an easy look, and he just kind of smoked it and threw it really hard off the glass.
Yeah.
I don't know what his problem is finishing. Fine with the threes, though. You can rely on him. He made a big one to put him up 5. Then he came out in overtime, which might have been the right move because he kept getting targeted by Harden. But it didn't feel like White did much better. I don't know what to think. I don't really.
You didn't think White did better on Harden? What do you mean? Like
in
general?
overtime, I don't think he really made a difference.
I didn't get to watch.
Yeah, you didn't get to see it.
I was listening, unfortunately.
They just keep punting guys and switches. It really doesn't matter unless you think every one of your 5 guys can guard him, which isn't the case.
Yeah, I just think you have to keep pressuring him like you were in games 2 and 3. And I mean, to their credit, they did pressure him pretty well to start game 3. Like they were pressuring him at the start of the game and for most of it, right? Like Jaylen Brown was picking him up full court. He just picked up 2 fouls. Marcus Smart was picking him up, but then they got, stuck in the pick and roll, and then they had to make decisions, blah, blah, blah. And I think this was the one where Harden just made a bunch of shots like pretty well. Like he made some of the ones he probably should have made in games 2 and 3 when the Celtics were putting pressure on him. But I just think you just have to keep pressuring him. And realistically speaking, even if Harden has a game like this again, like they shut down Embiid for the most part. Like they played defense really well against Embiid, and even
Shutting
if Harden
down Embiid is 30-something points.
He didn't have 30 tonight, did he?
He had 34 points.
Well, he shot 11 of 26 from the field. Like that's as much as
he struggled big in the second half too. A lot of
exactly.
those points came early. A lot of it was ticky-tack fouls.
Mm-hmm. And so if you can do that and play, sorry, I'm almost done. Then we can talk about the fouls because I do want to talk about that. You can play aggressive on James Harden, like as much as he's done it twice this series. Like I just don't expect him to do this again, like over and over. Like I don't think he's consistent enough to play like this under this pressure. Like as long as the Celtics come out in game 5, like they did in game 2 after a loss, you know what I'm saying? Like they've responded to losses well in the postseason. I'll put it that way. Outside of game 5 to 6 of Atlanta, it didn't feel like they responded well until they picked it up late. But regardless, I feel like they respond to losses well. We can talk about this too. Sorry for timestamps, Landon. We really just rambled about the game for the first 30 minutes of the game, but I know Sam and I were both frustrated at times with the officials. I texted Sam. I think Philly might be my least favorite team to watch / have to watch a team play against. It's just so infuriating watching them get away because, and again, I'm not one to complain about the refs, and it's not the reason they lost the game. I'm not like the Celtics lost the game because they couldn't play offense in the first half. James Harden put on a show, and the last 2 possessions of the game, they kind of just melted and didn't execute. However, the free throws were actually, was this correct?
They were even.
22-22. But you could just feel like the frustrations in the first half. Because realistically speaking, most of the Celtics free throws, and I'd have to check on this, I feel like they were all in the second half. Because whatever happened, but just watching a 300-pound man fall when he gets brushed in the front, watching James Harden fall backwards when he gets touched on a drive, watching just the way they approach that part of the game frustrates me. And it frustrates me even more when Doc Rivers complains about calls after watching whatever happens on the other end all night, right? Like, and of course I'm not stupid. Like, you're going to fight for your guys, whatever. I don't like not blaming Doc or whatever, but it's just so frustrating to watch that brand of basketball all night because no matter what you do, I tweeted this. If Joel Embiid jumps near a Celtics player, it's going to be a foul in the paint. It just is. It's just how it's going to be. He shot 15 free throws in game 4, and the Celtics played really good defense on him. Like, hands up, straight up, like they're showing their hands all the time. Like, just there's nothing you can do. He's just going to shoot 10 plus free throws every night, no matter what. It's just going to happen.
Yeah, you mentioned the first half was bad for free throws. It was. Celtics got in the bonus early in the fourth quarter. The reason why both sides are going to be unhappy with this is because it was extremely skewed for both sides at different points of the game. In the first half, very ticky-tack to start the game for Philly. Embiid gets to the free throw line early. Harden gets to the free throw line early. Celtics are getting killed on drives, and it's nothing. But then the fourth quarter, everything's ticky-tack. Philly gets 3 fouls right away. And the Celtics had the bonus as they try and claw their way back into the game. Then you have the block charge in overtime that sticks the Celtics way, and then they don't call the push-off on Tatum. So both sides are going to be like crying. I mean, you saw Doc crying after the game when Harden does that every time.
Yeah,
he literally did that as he drove.
It kills me. It doesn't make any sense. Like, and I agree that it was bad for both sides at times. Like, yes, the Celtics, I think, had a more favorable whistle in the fourth quarter. I think the refs gave them the benefit of the doubt. But in the first, half, whatever you want to call it, like the Sixers, it was just too much inconsistencies throughout different points in the game. And in the end, you look at the box score and like, oh, it's even. Who has to care? But like, it was just like long stretches. It was like runs in basketball. There were runs for the refs. Like, they decided, okay, we'll call stuff for the Sixers now. Now we'll call stuff for the Celtics. It just felt like there was no consistency. And overall, maybe it did balance out in the fourth quarter with the Celtics getting to the line. But the thing that frustrates me the most is the disparity of free throws for the stars. Because it feels like Embiid and Harden get whatever. And Tatum and Brown, I mean, Jaylen Brown shot 2 free throws in this game. He was driving like every other play. You're telling me he only got 2 free throws? Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. How I feel like Tatum and Brown have a terrible whistle in general. And again, it was even. So, in not sitting here and saying the refs were biased or whatever. It just feels like they get a rough whistle overall, which is frustrating to watch, especially when Embiid is kind of doing whatever he wants.
Yeah, I don't know. I get the sentiment. It's annoying to watch this team play. Both those guys, especially Harden. Every time Harden plays, dude, he's just looking for something.
I tweeted it out during the game. I feel like he's legitimately gonna hurt himself with how like hard he flops to the ground on drives and stuff. Like, he throws himself at the ground, and I really feel like it's gonna get him hurt one of these times. Like, there was the play against Brogdon where he tried to draw the offensive, where he threw himself to the ground. There was a play driving to the rim where the Celtics played pretty solid defense, and he just kind of threw himself to the ground afterwards. He's just flinging his body on the ground, and one of these times he's gonna get hurt because of how like he just like. I mean, there's no other word for it than flop. He just flops himself around, and it's like, as much as it is frustrating to watch, he's gonna hurt himself. But I mean, again, free throws not the reason the Celtics lost the game. They lost the game because of execution. No offense the first quarter. I just don't enjoy watching the calls, some of the calls that they get. But yeah, I'm still confident the Celtics can bounce back in game 5. I think they respond well after losses. Like I said, they tend to get up when the games matter. as in like obviously all of these games should matter, but they seem to pick and choose which games matter, and game 5 seems like a game they would pick matters. Does that make sense? It's very backwards, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I mean, you would have thought they would pick game 1.
That's what I'm
They
saying.
There's
they
no
pick and choose.
guarantee that they pick any of these games. It's so weird, this team. You would have thought today might have been a game they would pick because it was a big time chance to
Yeah.
put this series to bed, essentially. And they kind of realized it in the second half and started to try, but they didn't come out right. I sure hope
Not
they
at all.
realize what's at stake for game 5. This is starting to get ridiculous. Again, I stand by it. They should have swept this team. And
Yeah.
Twitter saying like people shouldn't be getting mad when they lose. Because yes, we should. It's not about them losing, it's the way they're losing. If they come out today and they just get beat up, yeah, we're all going to be like pissed and everything. We're going to be like, how they come out and not care, whatever. But when you just keep doing the same thing, melting at the end of games that you could win, this is the playoffs. The way you advance is by securing wins. If you're letting them slip away, you are legitimately shooting yourself in the foot in a way like no other. You cannot win a title this way.
Yeah.
I said it after game
you're
1.
right.
I don't know. I said they were fake. I don't know if today's takeaway should be that the Celtics are fake. I think it was very admirable that they fought. But again, when it got tough, when it was close, they had no answer. They had no way to close, and they ended up losing.
Yeah.
It's a recurring thing. It's Groundhog Day. You really thought they would win when they went up 5. They had all the momentum, and they still found a way not to win this game.
Agree.
It's the same shit. It's offensive rebounding. It's second chance points at the very base of it. And then it all branches out and it goes to everything. I thought the Brown lapse on defense was horrible, but again, it's not something that's been happening. He's been great on defense. If you want to take home the Missoula timeout as your biggest takeaway, not you, but the listener, I don't know what to tell you. Like, I guess go ahead, have a field day. Say Missoula's
It's a
the
problem.
devil.
It's a problem, but I don't think he deserves the blame for the loss solely. I'm partially sure, but
The only way I see it as a problem is he didn't make the read that things might not
that's what I'm saying. Like,
go at that final possession. But
you have to realize when things are breaking down. But anyways, like you said, like it's just a constant
that
thing
shouldn't
about
be
the
a
Celtics.
takeaway.
The Celtics not executing, which is
it's not
frustrating.
execution.
Yeah.
Just flashes of encouragement in game 3. They were good in that game, closed it out, fought off the comeback. Today they
Even
made the
encouragement in
comeback.
game 4. Like the fourth quarter was good. You showed
Yeah.
encouragement at the beginning of overtime. You look good, but like when you get down
Horford
to
called
it,
it
they just can't.
encouraging.
Maybe, I guess, but
Just
and you
get
know
stops.
what? If Horford's calling that encouraging, maybe it means they'll carry it over into game 5.
It was impressive that we saw that they could get stops.
Yeah,
They just couldn't continue. I don't know. My big thing, my main key is get stops. I don't care about the shooting percentage. I don't care about the threes. It's play defense. I saw Greeny tweet today like 120 magic number. Like they need to score 120 points. I literally don't care.
Yes. Like in the fourth quarter, the defense was phenomenal. They held the Sixers to 15 points.
It was.
Sixers shot 6 of 19 from the field in the fourth quarter, 0 of 3 from deep. The Sixers got 2 offensive rebounds to the Celtics 3, so that even wasn't even really like a huge problem. So there were some timely ones towards the end of the game, but they played great defense in the fourth quarter. And they got a good shot to win the game at the end of the fourth quarter too. It just didn't fall, and then overtime, and they looked good in overtime at the start of it, and then it really just came down to 2 possessions, in my opinion, the Jaylen Brown one, and then obviously the one where they didn't execute on the last play of the game.
Yep.
So
Series is 2 possessions from a sweep. Broken record.
It's tough.
It's true.
It's tough. But I think that's about all I want to talk about the game.
I'm tired. My Wi-Fi is not doing it today.
Do you want to do Rattlers quick, or we skip it today?
Rattlers Wi-Fi. I don't have anything.
All right, that's fine. I do have one, and I'll do it very quickly, and then we can outro. I was driving home today from basketball, and I'm going down the street. Dude blows through a stop sign to cut in front of me, and then goes the speed limit in front of me.
Yeah, it's
like
terrible.
if you're gonna blow through the stop sign, at least speed. What are we doing? right? And it's not like he like almost caused an accident, whatever. He was far enough in front of me. Like he probably should have stopped, and I should have gone in front of him. But like I wasn't close to hitting him. But he's going 30 and a 30. I mean, first of all, the road should not be a 30 because there's no houses. It's just like a back road with like trees. And second of all, why are we going 30 and a 30? I put my cruise control on because it like detects if there's a car in front of you, and so it'll slow down so I could track his speed. And he was going 30 and a like rat. It just pissed me off. You're gonna blow through the stop sign and then go slow as hell.
I think everybody should be allowed to carry like water balloons full of paint in their car, so they can kind of like have some retribution for that.
It was terrible. Anyways, I'll let you get out of here. I'll let us get out of here so we can go to sleep. Thank you guys for tuning in. My 2 plugs always subscribe to the channel. We appreciate it very much. How about them Celtics? Help us get that sub number up. Check us out on social media, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. How about them C's? How about them Celtics podcast? Leave a 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple. Follow there as well. Leave a review. And yeah, that's about it. I'll let Sam.
Yeah, thank you very much for listening or watching. If you're watching, you're on YouTube. And how about them Celtics? Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification button, leave a like and comment. We always love the comments. The pods lately have been doing very well, so thank you for that. Plus, if you subscribe, you'll see our pregame shows 30 minutes before every game. They are also on Facebook, which is the name of the podcast. Aside from that, social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, at How About Them C's. You can find more of us there. The pods will be dropped. You can follow Jack at Jack Simone NBA. Doing all kinds of good work for Celtics blog. And he's tweeting. You can follow me at Sam LaFrance NBA, and you can see me tweet pictures of Peyton. That's it for us. Bye.
Tic-taco. Come on.
Tackles.
Taco.